morning, Turks, guys. I am, of course, Cenk. I'm in New York. We are broadcasting from Rockefeller Center here, obviously, all week. I am hosting at 6 o'clock Eastern for MSNBC. Check it out. We had a good show today. Lester Holt was live from Cairo, and I thought he had an interesting story. Oh, Pat, he had an interesting story about how the protests were spreading outside of Tahrir Square. But Pat Leahy broke a little bit of news on the MSNBC show today. He said there's a pipeline of aid to Egypt that Congress will almost definitely cut off in either a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then the president could cut it off on any day. So apparently the president has that power. We don't know if he's exercised that power. So I think hopefully there'll be some more follow-up reporting on that after what Senator Leahy said on air today. And then we, as I promised you, we did this story of redefining rape. The Republicans planned for that. We had Congresswoman DeGette on about that from Colorado. And then we did the story on oil subsidies. And Ed Rendell was breathing fire on that. He thought it's totally unconscionable that the oil companies get $36.5 billion from our taxpayers. And so I thought it was a hell of a show. And look, because of Egypt, whenever there's breaking news, CNN does better. So, TYT Army, we've got to rally here a little bit, okay? I mean, if we could beat CNN on a day when they're doing breaking news about Egypt, that would be awesome. So, as always, I ask you to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and definitely tell Randy Gonzalez. We'll be coming again tomorrow. Now, let me give you some of the stories, some of the other stories from today. Well, now, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Egypt, and today we got clips on, absurd conspiracy theories from the right. We did that a little bit yesterday. We got a hell of a lot more on that today. And then Anderson Cooper got attacked. We're going to show you that footage. So we got a hell of an hour ahead for you guys. But I actually want to start with a non-Egypt story. I think that this is in some ways the biggest story of the day. Wall Street Journal is reporting on profits for the top financial corporations. Now, first, let me tell you what our situation is for the average American household. Well, in the previous year, we lost 1.5% of our income. Okay, so we are headed down, right? Meanwhile, of course, the top financial firms are headed way up. They're up 5.7% in 2010. And the 25 companies that have already reported, that are financial companies, have reported a new record of $135 billion in profits. So while the average income is dipping, their income is soaring. Why? Of course, because our government made the decision to basically hand them all that money. And so they can't find a way to lose money in the middle of what is a terrible recession for us and near 10% unemployment. Now, let me give you some more of the numbers. When you look at what's been happening with the financial firms, first of all, their revenue rose 1% to $417 billion, and that is also a new all-time record. I thought we were in the middle of a recession, but of course, the big banks, they make money no matter what, because they're getting the money at nearly 0% interest rate from the government. The Fed took $600 billion of their toxic mortgages, I was going to use more colorful language, but their toxic mortgages off their hands. If you made $600 billion worth of bad bets and then the government picked up the tab, you'd be doing pretty good too, because you only have the good bets left. And you're making the bets at nearly 0% interest rate. That's why they're kicking ass. Now, the revenue that went to the employees' pockets, by the way, is also up from 31.1% in 2009 to 32.5% this year. Now, what does that mean? Why is that relevant? Because they're not even giving all the money in profits to their shareholders. The employees, the executives of the company, are keeping more and more of the money for themselves. And I'll give you a number on that. According to the Wall Street Journal, financial firms' executive compensation also hit an all-time record high again this year. And by the way, you know what the previous record was? Last year. Also in the middle of a terrible recession for the rest of us. Now you see why I don't like Tim Geithner. I think the Obama Treasury Department has been a disaster. And by the way, it's definitely bipartisan. The Bush Treasury Department is the one who started this mess in the first place, the one who gave him all these giveaways after they totally crashed our economy. It's unconscionable. And look, if the American people knew more about what's happening and why they're making these profits and how it's actually based off of, taxpayer funds in a lot of ways and money that the Fed is printing on our behalf, they would be 10 times more enraged than they are now. And when this thing crashes again, well, then they're going to turn around and they're not going to say, hey, let's take the money back from the bankers. They're going to say, oh, well, what can we do? We ran out of money. We got to take it from the American middle class. They're already beginning to do that. Yesterday, we showed you a video of Tim Geithner saying, oh, entitlements, Social Security, Medicare. It's inevitable that we have to come after those. He's got to feed his big banker friends. They're making record profits. How are they going to make a record profit next year if he doesn't take our money this year? All right, meanwhile, one more economic story for you guys. The Economist had an excellent article about the Republicans' ideas on deficit cutting. They finally wrote, and of course, The Economist is fiscally conservative, and so they have a lot of credibility in this area, and they finally wrote what I've been saying a long time. They're like, wait a minute, I don't get it. The math doesn't add up at all. They say that they want to cut $50 or $60 billion in spending, but they just gave away $400 billion this year alone in tax cuts. And when you combine it for the next 2 years, it's $800 billion. So they're like, what good does cutting $50 billion do if you just gave away $800 billion? And they say if you don't take tax cut or tax policy into account, you have no chance at balancing the budget. And as I was reading the whole article, I was like, of course! That's what I've been saying the whole time. But it's great to see somebody else acknowledge that. It's the most obvious math in the world. Now, the other part that's obvious, and they have in the article, is, look, if you cut spending, the Republicans argue that it will somehow create growth and jobs, right? And, of course, the argument is based on the bond market, as this writer explains, because, if there isn't faith and credit in our ability to pay back the debt because, it's so out of whack, well, then the bond market will respond and we'll have to have higher interest rates, and then that'll make our debt worse and it'll spiral. But as I've been pointing out, as he points out, the bond market has not reacted that way. We have this tremendous deficit, but our interest rates are incredibly low in a historical context. So in the short term, it is not possible to create more jobs by cutting spending. It makes no logical or financial sense whatsoever. And he's like, in the long term, maybe that might have an effect. But again, so far we haven't seen it at all. But in the short term, it is not conceivable that you can magically create jobs by spending less. So the Republicans are 0 for 2. Their whole plan is nonsense, and it's not meant to create more jobs. It's not meant to balance the budget. It's meant to shift resources from the American middle class to the very, very rich. They don't want to pay the middle class. They want to cut everything they can, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, or anything else they can get their hands on, and then give more and more tax cuts to the top 1%. That's the Republican agenda, and I'm glad somebody else has finally done the incredibly simple math and figured it out. So that's the good news of today. All right, now, you know what? Of course, I've got a lot on Egypt, and I've got a lot of videos for you guys. Let's take a real quick break here and come back and give you the crazy conservative conspiracy theories and the latest updates on Egypt.
TYT, army get them arms up. Balance the region, calling us young Saddam, yeah. But we ain't terrorists, Fox News, we bomb, yeah. Your sticks and stones can't break through this armor. Cenk, you got a recruiter.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Look, as we're doing this show live, there's a lot going on in Tahrir Square. Like I told you earlier in the hour, the protesters have held the square. There is gunfire. It's totally confusing as to who's firing on who. There's some chance, since the Mubarak people already peeled out, there's two possibilities. One is that the army has decided to step in on the side of Mubarak and they're firing at the protesters. But the second chance is that the army has decided to go against Mubarak and they're firing on the pro-Mubarak people and the police and the Interior Ministry, right? If that's the case, that's why the pro-Mubarak people have left. That's why the protesters are sitting where they are in the middle of the square. and they're not running, in which case the revolution has succeeded. So, again, I'm live here. I don't have a lot of information. I'm just checking MSNBC every once in a while, and that would be amazing. So we don't know yet. We'll obviously find out a lot more, and I'll have a lot more for you tomorrow on this show at 8 o'clock Eastern, of course, and on MSNBC at 6 o'clock Eastern as well. Now, another amazing thing happened today in Egypt. They started attacking reporters. They attacked reporters all over Cairo. Lester Holt was reporting on MSNBC that they were attacking reporters in the streets, that weren't even at the square. And, of course, dozens of reporters have said they've had their cameras smashed or been personally attacked. But the one that stands out the most to everybody is Anderson Cooper. That made the most headlines. He was attacked. CNN has now released the video, and let's watch it for ourselves. Here it is.
Been hit now like 10 times. Yep. The Egyptian soldiers are doing nothing.
Leave it right there!
Started chanting that we have to go. Now we're being... I'll take a picture. William.
لا بس sorry.
Hey, calm down. Hey, calm down. Inshallah.
Please.
Calm down. Hey, come back.
Look, that's scary stuff. And, I have some experience with it. I got attacked by an angry mob of Cuban protesters in Miami during the L.A. Gonzalez debacle. And, Anderson Cooper said that obviously it's not safe for reporters in Tahrir Square, and that was the whole point of attacking him. And obviously at that point, Egyptian forces had decided, and of course it's not the military, it's the police and the pro-Mubarak people, they decided, we got nothing left to lose. We've pretty much lost America. We've lost world opinion. Let's at least try to drive the cameras out of here. And was partially successful in that sense. But as you can see now, the cameras are all over the square anyway. But Anderson Cooper was very calm throughout, which you have to give him a lot of credit for. And he kept saying, calm down. And then he would use the one Arabic word he knows, inshallah, which means, I hope. Basically, or God willing. But it doesn't quite make sense in that context. But, hey, listen, he's trying and under difficult circumstances. He told Huffington Post that he got punched in the head, as you saw, and that he had never been punched in the head before, which I actually found to be kind of amazing. I've been punched in the head many times, and perhaps you could tell. But I don't know why, but I thought that was the most amazing part of the whole story. I wanted to ask you guys, actually. JR, have you ever been punched in the head?
No, I've never been. I've hit my head, of course, but never been punched in it. Doing sports.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think maybe when you said that, I think he was a little amazed at how it didn't do much damage, because you can take a lot of shots to the head, especially from a fist or a hand here and there.
Believe me, I know. I've taken a lot of shots to the head. How about Andrew? Andrew, you ever get punched in the head?
Yeah, I got punched in the face one time in high school.
All right, good for you. That's an all-American. You see that, JR?
The only problem is it was by a girl.
Oh, disaster. Totally ruined the whole thing. I didn't know all of the TYT crew had soft hands. By the way, this is absurd. But it's not a bad thing to have never been punched in the head. It's a good thing. I'm just apparently too bellicose. I got into one too many fights. And as I've told you before, especially if you know my last fight, I definitely got into one too many fights. But anyway, so look, good courage on the part of a lot of reporters there, including Anderson Cooper, and he deserves credit for that. All right, have I run out of time? I have disastrously run out of time. You know what? Here's the last thing. I want to show you, actually, one other reporter talking about it. CNN reporter Hala Gorani. She was also attacked. Let's watch that. Clip number 11, guys.
Well, Christy, I've got to say, I'm still just a little bit shaken. I was rushed by a crowd of protesters running in the opposite direction toward the outskirts of the square when there was a scuffle between protesters. Just a few minutes before, horses and camels came charging in. It was quite a surreal scene, I have to say. I was then sort of glued up against the barrier. And at that point, one of the pro-Mubarak protesters came up to me, threatening me, telling me no, to get out of there. I was a little bit fearful. Another protester came to my aid, protected me, and said, don't touch her, she is with me. Gotta say, I might owe my safety right now to one of those protesters who decided to protect me at that point. It is absolutely chaotic right now down there. I reached pretty much the center of the line where the anti and the pro-Mubarak groups had reached a high point of tension. I wasn't able to make it to the other side of the protest where the anti-government demonstrators have gathered. It really wouldn't have been prudent to go that far.
Yeah, no, look, I can't overstate how courageous the reporters are, not just here, but the reporters that covered Iraq and Afghanistan continue to cover it, and that so many have lost their lives, and they're doing great work out there. Now, back to getting punched in the head. I was thinking while she was talking that I've probably been punched in the head at least 40 times in my life. Once again, can you tell?
I mean, you have to like move, stick and move, dodge or something,
No, listen, I've been in a lot of fights, man, when I was younger. And so in the middle of a fight, yeah, the guy hits you in the head, you hit him in the head. It happened like, I don't know, it's happened dozens of times.
Are we like calling the face the head too? Because these are sucker punches. I'm thinking you're getting hit in the back of the head.
No. A face, the head. No. You can front. It doesn't have to be the back of the head.
All right, I'm picturing really bad images here, and you got to do something else. Turn around, start doing like a helicopter move. Just stick your arms out and spin something.
See, JR's not going to get caught in that, man. He already knows you're coming. He's ready for you. You're not going to catch him off guard. All right. Anyway, listen, we're out of time. I'm going to save Chuck Grassley to tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to do the show here again, of course, on the Young Turks at 8 o'clock Eastern on theyoungturks.com. We're going to do the MSNBC show at 6 o'clock Eastern. If you can check that out, that'd be great. We'd really appreciate it, as always. Definitely need the TYT Army. And then they have a postgame coming up right now. They're going to talk about this disastrous nun who made up a terrible lie about her sexual habits. And Anna and JR are going to talk about they're going to have a fight over the parking lot attendant, and we hope no one gets punched in the head. So, members, stick around for that. Everybody else, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
And if you disagree, boy, exit to the right. Leading a revolution, only solution to the lies exhumed nationwide. We try to play it by your rules, but your rules need improvement, cause we representing the new movement. TYT, holla, TYT, gotcha.